Here on Treaty 7 territory, nestled in the Rocky Mountains with the mighty Bow River at an altitude of 1,309 meters. Born from coal dust in 1884 and ever-changing, this is Canmore, and we are Canmorites, and this is the Canmorite podcast. Let's go. Hello, welcome to the Canmorite podcast, episode 3 with me, Jeff Ma. And I was talking earlier how we are on a federal campaign blitz of interviews, and I'm really pleased to have with me the Liberal candidate, Michael Fark. Michael, how are you?
Doing very well, Jeff. Thanks very much. And thanks for having me with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for making the time. I know the campaign is a crazy amount of time because of the truncated one. And so let's just get into the questions. So, first question, Michael, what motivated you to run as a Liberal candidate? Because all of a sudden we had a candidate from the Liberal Party relatively recently. Fill us in.
Yeah, very recently. Honestly speaking, if you'd asked me 3 weeks ago, this was not on my radar. I've been working as the director of recovery in Jasper for the last 8 months, and the work we're doing here is quite meaningful. But I got a phone call while I was in London. I was in London a few weeks ago for a board meeting with Médecins Sans Frontières, where we had
That's the
spent.
Doctors Without Borders. Is that the same thing?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
just checking. Great. Thank you.
And we'd spent 3 days doing some very heavy context analysis in terms of some of the changing things that we're seeing in the world, how that's impacting the populations that we work with and our work. And I got this phone call from somebody I know and respect who was participating in the Riding Association, and they asked, "Would you consider running?"
Oh,
And so they got me in a bit of a vulnerable moment because obviously that sort of big world picture is a very real concern right now.
absolutely.
Um, and so I took some time to come back from London to talk to family and friends, colleagues here in Jasper at the Jasper Recovery Coordination Center, and I asked a few folks, try to talk me out of this,
Right.
and nobody really did try to do that. So ultimately, what it comes down to is I am actually quite concerned. I'm concerned about a number of things.
Okay.
I'm concerned about our neighbors to the south and the approach that they're taking, not just to Canada, but in politics domestically and internationally in general. I think that represents a very real threat and risk to us here, not just to our economy, but to our way of life.
Hmm.
And I'm concerned about some things that I'm seeing here very much at the local level in the riding. The fire from Jasper last summer, the obvious effects of climate change that we're experiencing in the riding. We've got
Yeah.
drought in southern Alberta. We've got the fires that have been affecting the various areas of the riding. Um, and so there's all these things that are coming together that make this feel like a really important and consequential time.
Right.
And so I guess, Jeff, if you're given the opportunity, if somebody asks you, hey, this is a consequential time, and
Yep.
here's an opportunity for you to be involved and do something about it. I don't know how you say no to that. So I didn't. And so what motivates me is the opportunity to maybe win a seat at the table
Okay.
and be a part of shaping the decisions that will manage how we respond to these very real threats at all these different levels, the local level, the national level, and the international level.
Wow, fantastic. And for sure, it is a big deal and it's also really nice to be asked to run. But given that short period of time, like I've been looking at some of your guys' schedules, you've been everywhere, forums, etc., coming up to speed super quick. Any sort of fascinating campaign story you've had during the run so far, just to kind of like let people know like the trials and tribulations and the guts it takes to run for elected office. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the funniest things that people keep saying is, "Are you crazy running as a liberal in rural Alberta?"
Sure.
Yeah, and so I don't think we're crazy. I think we
Okay.
have a real legitimate chance to win the seat, and we
Okay.
wouldn't have taken it on if we didn't. But we've certainly met with some people who, are have legitimate reasons to be angry,
Okay.
and who are not happy with what they've seen from the Liberal government in the last 10 years. So we were up in Grand Cache a couple of days ago. We had a really nice meeting with the seniors lodge up there. There was a
Hmm.
large group of seniors. We came together. We had some good conversation, and then we were just doing a question and answer. And there was a couple in the crowd who were clearly more agitated or upset,
Okay.
and really were dominating the question and answer. So we were trying to spread it around to give other people the opportunity, but it somehow kept coming back to them. And, they were asking some fairly strong and fairly aggressive questions.
Okay.
Um, and I think maybe what they expected was that I would deflect or I wouldn't engage or I would try to shut them down.
Right.
And it's not at all what we did. So I made a good faith effort to answer every one of their questions,
Wow.
even when I knew that some of the answers I would provide
Yeah.
were not the answers that they would be satisfied with or that they would appreciate hearing. And this went on for a while. We probably spent the better part of 20, 30 minutes in this general Q&A, and most of it focused on this couple. Um,
They took 20 to 30 minutes of the question here. You are very generous, Michael. Keep going. Sorry. I just want to say that's a lot of time for a lot of
it,
ideological questions.
it was a lot of time, but so part of it was the ability to take the time to answer them their questions also showed to everybody else in the room,
Yeah.
some of the answers and some of the information I would want them to have anyway. So we were able to use this as an opportunity. And at the end of the discussion, I said to him, look, so I don't believe I've changed your mind here. I don't believe that you're going away from this and you're going to come and you're going to vote for me now. And I'm completely okay with that. And I still encourage you to get out and vote. But I said, what I hope is that based on this conversation, if I am successful and I become your representative afterwards, if you have an issue that you feel comfortable reaching out to me,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I will engage with you and we will have a conversation and that my job will still be to represent you. And what I found really quite interesting was there was almost an instantaneous change of demeanor. And the response I got back, sort of that changed from aggressive questioning to, yeah, fair enough. And I will do that. And
Wow.
and I think that's one of the things that I'm really trying to accomplish with this campaign is to
Mm-hmm.
engage people in good faith.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we can't, we're not going to completely agree, or even if they're not going to vote for me, if we can come to some kind of common ground,
Mm-hmm.
there is real value in that because our political discourse has become so polarized.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And that's it. And so I'm trying to send a message of, you know what? We are all Canadians, we're all Albertans, we're in this together. Let's come together in a way where we actually have meaningful conversations again and just see what results we get from that.
Wow, that's a really impressive story. And man, kudos to you for having like the patience and the resilience to be in there and actually like, highlight your point at the end that, hey, I'm here to like represent everyone if I was to get in. So coming back to the Yellowhead riding, and I know you've talked about a couple of the ideas that motivated you. So Michael, in your mind, what are the top two issues that we need to contend with here at the Yellowhead riding?
So what I've heard from the people that we've been talking to during this last few weeks of somewhat crazy run. So
Mhm.
housing and affordability is at top of everyone's mind, right?
Okay.
The and housing throughout the stages of life, whether it's seniors housing and senior supports and their ability to remain viable and age in place in their communities, or whether it's young people who are seeing an unattainable housing market and an inability to sort of afford the same sort of basic necessities of life. That's been a common theme pretty much across the whole riding. And I think probably not just the riding, but across Alberta and much of Canada. So those are critical concerns that people have been raising. And the other big one is, of course, environmental concerns.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Yeah. So the wildfire and climate change is something that is very much top of people's mind.
Yeah.
The event in Jasper, but not just Jasper. I mean, Hinton was evacuated, or sorry, Edson was evacuated a couple of times in the last few years due to wildfire risk. We're on those eastern slopes. There is a lot of fire prone timber, let's say,
Mhm.
and so people are very aware of that. But also, you know, the watersheds and the important role that they play in not just providing drinking water for the communities in the riding, but also supporting the agriculture and the ranching that takes place. And so I think that there is, broadly speaking, an understanding and an appreciation of the fact that our industries, whether it's tourism or logging or agriculture and ranching, all of these industries actually rely on having a healthy ecosystem and a healthy environment. And there's people's concerns about how we balance the need to invest in infrastructure and have a healthy economy with the need to maintain a healthy ecology.
Right. For sure. And when I hear that, I would definitely think that th those two issues would completely resonate with people in the Bow Valley. I know on our Canmore Council, like housing is like our number one thing. And when it comes to existential crisis to our community, it is wildfire. And we are trying to
Yeah.
put as much stuff. And so like any sort of efforts from higher levels of government to help energize um, those objectives would be hugely important. So Michael, at one point you were talking about, I think like the term was the Jasper Recovery Center, and I know some people are familiar with it, but maybe some people aren't, and maybe that ties into my next question. What is an experience if you have had in the past year that makes you the best candidate for this riding?
Yeah, and I think that that's probably the right answer. So since the fire, I was brought on more or less immediately after the fire to come in and to lead the recovery effort on behalf of the municipality of Jasper. So I'm the director of recovery, and
Mhm.
my position has really been sort of at the nexus of the municipal, provincial, and federal governments,
Okay.
and sort of bringing them all together. So the JRCC, which is the Jasper Recovery Coordination Center, is a sort of a unified command between Parks Canada and the municipality of Jasper as we try to coordinate all aspects of Jasper's recovery, recognizing that the park and the municipality are somewhat symbiotic. And
Mhm.
so the recovery of one requires the recovery of other, and there's so much overlap between the two. At the same time, the Coordination Center, the JRCC, we also have a strong partnership with the government of Alberta, and they
Right.
have been involved in a number of different ways. And then we have other partners, Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Jasper, partners like the Red Cross, who have been fantastic. They've stepped up in a big way to help us with interim housing and other social supports. So a number of community organizations that have come together. So essentially, what the JRCC does is it tries to identify all the areas of recovery that need work,
Okay.
identify who needs to be at the table to figure out what is the work that needs to be done, to find the resources to do the work, and then to actually coordinate its implementation. And that spans the full gamut of the debris removal, interim housing, the rebuild effort, right? Because rebuild is
Mhm.
going to be the next big priority, social recovery, economic recovery. All of these things, they're all areas of work that require attention and expertise. And so we've assembled a team to do that. So it's multidisciplinary
Mhm.
and it's multi-governmental. It's all three levels of government.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, there are challenges when you get three levels of government working together, even at the best of times and the best of conditions. And certainly, it's been a challenging when the provincial government and their philosophy and ideology is very different than from that of the federal government. Um, and so those have been difficult challenges to navigate. But despite those challenges, we've actually made real progress. And we found a way, we sort of, together with a great team of people, we're finding the way to actually advance the things that Jasper needs
Mhm.
in order to be able to have an effective recovery. And we're doing it in a way that sort of respects the boundaries of each of the partners, identifies where they are best positioned to help out and where they're most willing to help out, and accepting those areas where they are not willing to help out, and then
Oh,
finding alternative solutions. And so it's a very pragmatic approach
yeah.
of rolling up the sleeves, identifying what the work is that needs to be done, and then figuring out the best way to do it. And I can't think of a better analogy of what our federal government needs to be doing in these next 4 years than doing exactly that.
Right. So that process of actually working with all those layers of government, hitting roadblocks, trying to see opportunities for change, common interest. Yeah, I couldn't imagine getting into that sort of role. And so in terms of say yourself, Michael, is there like a certain skill set or attribute addition that you'd like to describe that you think would really benefit our writing?
Well, and I think it sort of speaks to what I was just explaining. So I've got 25 years of sort of emergency and crisis management work that I've been doing with my work overseas, but also the work that I've done in Canmore, the work that I've been doing in Jasper. So I really do have that understanding of how to manage crisis, and the work processes and team building and all the elements and dynamics that come together. And honestly speaking, I think at a number of levels we are facing some crises. We're facing some geopolitical crises. We're facing a crisis of threats from our southern neighbor. We're facing environmental crises, and we're facing some affordability and housing challenges. So I think that experience and understanding of crisis and crisis management, but also functionally how government works and
Right.
what it takes to actually get work done by government. Because let's be honest, the larger the government, the more bureaucracy, the more risk adverse they are, the harder it can be to get things done and get things done in a timely manner. And so it actually requires an understanding of how to navigate those processes in order to be effective. And I think that that's something that I've shown throughout my career that I'm able to bring.
Okay. Excellent. So Michael, I know people are probably interested in hearing from you more. How can they get a hold of you?
Certainly. So we have a website, michaelfark.ca. So
Yes.
people can go on the website. We have an email address, campaign at michaelfark.ca. We're happy to receive emails. Those are the two best ways to reach out to us and get additional information. And again, the approach that we've been taking, Jeff, throughout this is to like the number of people that have reached out to us on social media with a comment in a post or something along those lines, and then we've responded that have turned into
Mm.
meaningful conversations.
Mhm.
That's been one of the nice surprises about this campaign. So we are actually really encouraging people if they have questions or concerns, or they want to participate somehow, they want to support, they want to organize an event, have a meet and greet, whatever that looks like, the full gambit.
Mhm.
Um, we actually really do want to engage with people on that level. So we really do encourage them to send us an email at that email address or to visit the website and connect with us that way.
Okay, amazing. Speaking of events, I know you've done a lot of events, and there are more. So here in Canmore, we actually do have an event. It's being organized by my good friend Wade Graham, and it is a candidates forum. It happens on Good Friday. That's April 18th. It's at CanGolf, 2 p.m. And Mayor Sean Krausert will be the moderator, and he'll do a great nonpartisan job with that. Michael, I just wanted to wish you all the best for the rest of your campaign. I know there's a lot of excitement I've heard when people found out that there was a liberal campaign, and it was someone from you. And so, wishing you well, and let's talk more.
Jeff, really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.